Breaking news now. The man that was mistakenly deported to El Salvador back in March is being indicted in the United States. Now, for months, Kilmar Abrego Garcia was in a notorious prison. Scripps News legal affairs correspondent Avajoy Burnett is in our D.C. newsroom. And Avajoy, we understand that he is back in the country. This is a big development. So what can you tell us about it at this hour?
Holly, this is a significant development that the Attorney General of the United States has confirmed herself, that Kilmar Abrego Garcia is back on U.S. soil after being deported to El Salvador back in March. And we're now learning that a grand jury has indicted Kilmar Abrego Garcia on 2 counts. The first count is conspiracy to transport aliens, and count number 2 is unlawful transportation of undocumented aliens. Now, according to the Attorney General of the United States, she alleges that over a period of about 9 years, Abrego Garcia took steps to transport undocumented migrants from countries in Central America through Mexico and into the United States. Abrego Garcia is an undocumented migrant himself, and this is the reason why he faces this new indictment that came down from this grand jury a few weeks back. Now, remember, the backstory here is that Abrego Garcia is among more than 200 people who were deported on those flights that we saw over the weekend back in March. The story about Kilmar Abrego Garcia is very different, though, because he had a standing court order which prohibited his return to El Salvador, even though he's from that country. He'd made an argument in court that he should not be sent back to El Salvador because he was in danger there. And this became a flashpoint on both political sides. The White House said repeatedly that he would not return to the United States. When El Salvador's president came to the United States, he himself, sitting right next to President Donald Trump, said Abrego Garcia would not be coming back here because he alleged that he was someone who didn't deserve to be here in the United States. They thought that he committed violent crimes. And then on the other side of things with the Democrats, we know that the Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen actually went down to El Salvador and was able to see Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Well, now we know that he's coming back to the United States, and once he's here, he will be in U.S. custody because the Attorney General of the United States is saying that he has taken these steps in the past and he will be indicted under these 2 federal counts. Now, one more thing that I want to bring up for you guys. Sometime last month, we reported on a video that surfaced regarding Kilmar Abrego Garcia, where he was pulled over for speeding in Tennessee. And at the time, the administration said he was participating in human trafficking, trafficking people who were undocumented migrants. However, he was let go, even though the state troopers had a suspicion that he was participating in human trafficking. They did not pull him. They did not arrest him at that time, and he faced no charges. This is that particular video that may be associated with this particular federal indictment against Abrego Garcia. The indictment is coming out of the state of Tennessee, and according to the Attorney General, over a period of 9 years, they believe that Abrego Garcia was a part of a smuggling ring that made about 100 trips transporting people illegally. Now, I must say, in our reporting of this particular case, we have reached out to Abrego Garcia's representatives. In the past, his wife said that he traveled between states, from different states in Maryland and to other states down south in order to do construction work. And she said he was absolutely not participating in human trafficking, despite what the administration alleged back then and despite what they are saying right now. I reached out to the family members and representatives earlier today to see if we could get a comment regarding the significant update in this case, and we have not heard back just yet. But Holly, this is once again a major update in this particular case against Kilmar Abrego Garcia. The Attorney General is saying after he faces justice with regards to this particular matter, he will once again be deported. But this is a case that has really garnered a lot of attention. It even made it all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court, where the High Court said he should be returned to the United States so that he could have due process, so that he could have his day in court. And now we have these significant new developments in this case, Holly.
And Avajoy, just to be clear, because I want to make the distinction that this is not about the particular man that the Supreme Court ruled that he had to come back. It was more about the rights, the constitutional rights that people in this country have. So they wanted him back, not because they thought he was, you know, a great guy, but they wanted him to have his due process. Explain what that means, why it was so important to have him back constitutionally.
The issue that the U.S. Supreme Court had to weigh in this Kilmar Abrego Garcia matter is not whether he committed any crimes. It's just that he did not have an opportunity to explain himself in front of a court. So the 9 justices did not weigh in on him being here legally or illegally. They did not weigh in on the allegations against him at the time that he was an undocumented migrant, and that's why he was immediately deported without being able to see an attorney. The U.S. Supreme Court did not weigh in on those issues. Those are the issues that culturally many people have been speaking on, but that's not what this ruling, this major ruling a few weeks back from the U.S. Supreme Court was all about. The High Court specifically wanted to ensure that Kilmar Abrego Garcia had his day in court like any other person who's here in the United States, whether you are a citizen or not. So that is what the U.S. Supreme Court ruled on, that he should be brought back here to the United States so that he would be able to have due process and defend against the allegations against him. And, you know, we were able to get a statement from the senator in Maryland who represents the state where Kilmar Abrego lived before he was deported. And that is what Senator Chris Van Hollen said. I'm going to read a portion of what our Capitol Hill team was able to get from that senator who went to El Salvador to visit him. Senator Van Hollen said, for months, the Trump administration flouted the Supreme Court and our Constitution. Today, they appear to have finally relented to our demands for compliance with court orders and with the due process rights afforded to everyone in the United States. The senator went on to say, as I have repeatedly said, this is not about the man. It's about his constitutional rights and the rights of all. The administration will now have to make its case in the court of law, as it should have all along. So to your point, Holly, you're absolutely right. This is not an issue about Kilmar Abrego Garcia's background, his story, whether he's a good person or not. This is about his right to be able to have his day in court.
An important distinction. Scripps News legal affairs correspondent Avajoy Burnett live in D.C. for us. Thank you for breaking that all down and your analysis and your amazing explanation on all of this. We appreciate it.